Welcome to the Gentle Art Podcast with Dunn. Today I'm so excited to have my longtime friend and classmate from the Gracie Academy, Shawn Williams. I'm so excited for this episode because Shawn Williams is not only one of the very best jiu-jitsu practitioners I've ever trained with, he's responsible for a lot of what we're doing, what I believe we're doing in jiu-jitsu today. He's I'm so excited, Shawn, I'm a little bit speechless, to chat about jiu-jitsu with you. So welcome to the podcast and thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it. So it's good to see you.
It's great to see you as well. I'm happy you're doing well and you just look great. So Shawn, I wanted to kind of start a little bit at the beginning of your jiu-jitsu journey, and so that we can kind of set the stage for the conversation. But so I kind of remember you coming to train one time or twice. Maybe you spent a week at Renzo's, and then you left, and then you moved. Like it seemed like the next day you moved to New York, and you were in. And so, if I'm not wrong, so can you kind of take us a little bit through your journey? Like, where'd you grow up? How did you kind of get involved in the martial arts? And then, what had you come to Renzo's and embark on this journey?
Yeah, of course. I'll try to keep this short because when I start talking, I keep going. But yeah, I mean, real simply, I'll keep it very short. I grew up in Indiana. I started karate when I was around 12 out of a book. My brother and I trained out of a book because there was just no place to go in Podunk, Indiana. And then shortly after that, actually, there was a little dojo that opened up in near my hometown. So I just went in there and just trained as much as I could. My best friend and I trained. I don't know, maybe 3 times a week or something like this. And it was just really, we had 6 teachers. I think there were 6 students. So there were 6 black belts and 6 students, I think. And one of my teachers was a correction officer and one was a tow truck operator. So they both had pretty rough occupations. So I actually think they just used it as a means to like practice beating us up and, spar. We did katas. It was they were great human beings. They were very gentle and very kind, but there's also, we sparred a ton. We sparred with fingerless gloves. We could take each other down. It was very real for all the way back then. I didn't realize actually until much later, how much that impacted my distance management. I just didn't really realize. So
karate.
Karate.
No, karate in distance, it's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. So
and so really I saw Gracie fight in 93 on a VHS tape. My brother's friend, who was actually at one of the students at the dojo, brought it over and we got such a kick out of it. I remember it's UFC number 2 was the first one I saw. And Hoist was going to go up against this karate guy. And I was like, dude, this karate guy's gonna just destroy this guy. And he just strangled him so fast. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, right.
What is this? And that caught my attention. And then from that point forward, I was always interested in learning how to do that, but there was nowhere to really to pursue. Cut to 95. I was in upstate New York. I was going to college in upstate New York on like a whim of I wanted to play college hockey, literally a whim. Didn't play hockey when I grew up. Started very late. Drove out there like I did the Renzo's, and tried out on some random Division III team. And it, it's just sort of, it was kind of a disaster. I mean, I wasn't good enough to play D3 at that time. It was self-taught.
Right.
But I went out there anyway. And then on the trip back, I drove on October break. So October 1995, which I'm sure, I was driving back home to Indiana. And I happened to see a martial arts supply store on the side of the road in Pennsylvania. And it was like rent martial arts DVDs or they were VHS tapes, right? So I was like, oh, I'm stopping there. Why wouldn't I stop there? I stopped there. Yeah, I was like training at a place that did Jeet Kune Do, and so I stopped there, and lo and behold, they had all of the Gracie Kukuk series, like all 13 of them. I think there were 13 of them.
Wow.
And so I said, oh, wow, man, I'm going to rent that. I want to watch these things.
For those of you who don't know, the Gracie Kukuk series came out right when the Horion DVDs came out. They came out side by side pretty much, maybe 6 months apart, but that was all we had. That was what everybody had used. I mean, it changed. Those were the pivotal points, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. So I rented all of them, took them back to Indiana. You know, I didn't copy them or anything like that whatsoever. But then I just like, I literally watched those things when I got back to New York, upstate New York. I watched those things every day. But when I got to Indiana, lo and behold, this dude that I had his videos was fighting. My friend called me from that was from the dojo and was like, hey, I don't know if you know who this guy is, this Renzo Gracie guy, but he's fighting on pay-per-view tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm looking at this guy's DVD going like, this is the guy. He's going to fight. And so I went to watch, that was the World Combat Championship.
Combat, that's right.
Yep, that's right. So I watched that. And I was really enamored how he fought because it wasn't like hoist. Like he was actually moving around. He was boxing and just
much
shooting
more aggressive.
in. But he was super aggressive. And I was like, wow, this dude is awesome. And I have his DVD, or this VHS tapes. So I started to watch them all the time, like pretty much every day. I watched them. I had a friend that was at the school that I was going to that we practiced almost every day on our own. And so, we were kind of like grappling on carpet floors, just trying to learn anything I could. And then I'm flipping through Black Belt magazine, probably like around May, almost when school's out in Cortland, New York. So I was about ready to go back to Indiana, and I'm flipping through and I see, whoa, this dude's going to open a school in New York City.
Right.
Like there's the ad for the Gracie Kukuk School in New York City. So I was like, wow. So, I went home to Indiana and I visited. So what you remember is I came to visit. I didn't train, but I came to visit and meet Renzo. And he was just like, hey, champ. That was and I walked through the elevator in 27th Street. It was, hey, champ. And so
did you go in the first Kukuk Renzo Academy on 27th, right?
That's right. That's right.
With Papa Chung.
That's right. Went up the elevator.
For those of you who don't know who Papa Chung is, he was an elevator operator that could barely speak English. And he got the wrath of all the jiu-jitsu practitioners that came up that elevator.
That's right. But he had great spirits. He was always singing.
He was amazing. Amazing guy.
Yeah. So I got there and Renzo was nice as could be, just like he is.
Yep.
And so I said, hey, I'm going to come. I actually had done a lot of research about going to California. It's because Hickson was there, the Gracie Academy was there, and then Renzo was in New York. So I did a lot of research. I'm like, okay, where am I going to go? It took me that one meeting to just be like, I'm coming here. I saw this guy fight. He's super nice. I applied for colleges, got accepted at College of Staten Island, and boom. Like 2 months later, which you remember, 2 months later, I was there.
You
showed up,
moved
and
in.
I moved, and I was, the first day on the mat, I think, was September 7th of 1996.
Amazing. I remember, I recall meeting Renzo. They had a tournament the Saturday before World Combat. It was like it was a tournament to grand open the school. I met him. He went and fought. He came back, and then I trained with him. Like, I just remember that period so vividly and being in awe of him. Like, whoa, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, Hoist is the one who sealed the deal for me, right? Like, I saw UFC 1. By UFC 2, I was at Kukuk's at Oishi's.
Yeah.
But then meeting Renzo was like a whole other thing, man. He just was really something else. Still is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're at the Renzo Gracie Academy, and like you and I were talking on the phone before the call, and like you had said, like that was a really special time, right? Like that whole period between 96 and 2004, 2005, right? That period was something very unique. Yeah. And like, what was unique about it for you? What was why did you say that to me in effect? Like,
I think that there were a small group of very like-minded individuals with an insanely amazing leader,
yeah,
like an instructor, a role model, a leader that paved the way for this. And it was just sort of I guess a perfect storm of guys like Matt Serra, Ricardo Almeida, Rodrigo Gracie, and just you, John, Joe D'Arcy,
you.
Jamie Cruz, like it was such a boiled down group, mixed with all, of course, everyone else that was there too. I mean,
Yeah,
I felt like everyone contributed, not
yeah,
only like that small group. I feel like everybody contributed
yeah.
of making what happened there work. It was some of the guys that came in was like, this place is like the lab, and I felt like that was always like a pretty good name for it, just the lab, because we had in Henzo, he brought so many high level people through the doors,
That's
right?
right.
So
That's
you've
right.
got all these world champions coming up to train. You got fighters from all over the world coming to train, but we got his teaching
That's
twice
right.
a day and
That's right.
just condensed. And I felt like he was the guy that wanted everyone to be as good as him so he could get better. I feel like he was honestly like the Mr. Miyagi. Like
Yeah.
he literally was like, "You're gonna get better." He never said it, but he I think his goal was to make everybody as good as him so that he would get better too. Because now he was displaced from all the world champions that he had before. He
Right.
came here and
Right.
didn't have
Right.
anymore.
Right. Right.
So he had to make them so that he was in the prime of his fighting career. So I felt like it was just a very special place. Everybody was busting their butts, training
Oh yeah.
hard.
Oh
He
yeah.
was
Yeah.
trained. I mean, you can't, and the minds that were working
That's right.
in that capacity was like Henzo's mind wasn't normal. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
he'd come in like, I dreamed of this move and it would work.
Yeah.
And I think that inspired a lot of other creative
There's so
juices to flow.
there's so many things I want to talk about right here, but so I want to get back to that because
Yeah.
there was something very meaningful for me that you showed me. But like, you said a bunch of world champions and fighters came in. Like, is there one in particular that like was a memorable one for you, or that like opened something up for you?
Uh,
I
you,
know
you
like
know,
Nino Shembri came
yeah,
in, a lot of
yeah,
these people that were pioneers or
yeah,
revolutionary, and they were coming in and working out their fight strategies and game
yeah,
plans and using us as sparring partners and all kinds
yeah.
of things. So was there anybody that like in particular that really stuck out for you?
I mean, Nino was one of those guys for sure. That guy is just so talented. It's unbelievable.
Right.
And he also had to sit down with me one time, and I think it when I was purple belt, I think it really shifted my mind as well, because I was thinking about moving to Brazil. Like there were many times. One time I was thinking about moving when they were separated. Right, Hazel had me to dinner. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." I was like, "Okay, great, good. Thank God. I don't really want to move to Brazil right now." And then the other one was I kind of wanted to compete more. There really wasn't that many competitions
Right.
in the United States. We had to travel to Brazil a lot, and so I was like, man, there's just so many other people to train with with the gi, and there's all these black belts, and I was like, maybe I should go down there for some time. Nino was at the school, and we had a really fun training session, and I told him, and he was like, "What are you, crazy?" He's like, "You're crazy, man. You're crazy." He's like, "You're not gonna go anywhere."
Right.
I mean, I remember
Right.
him just being like, don't leave this place."
Yeah.
Like that guy right there that you have sitting there is the guy, and you doesn't matter who's on the mat training.
Yeah.
That's the guy, and you have enough amazing talent. So
He was
don't
right,
go to,
buddy.
and he was right. He was
Yeah.
100% right. He had the experience, and so he was 100% right. And it just like, okay, I'm doing what you say because I see
Right.
your caliber and what
Right.
you can do. And so yeah, he was very, I think, a sort of a pivotal figure. But there were a lot of guys, and
I'm sorry, Sean. Let me just
yeah, go
jump
ahead.
in real quick. Like, so one of the things I think that jujitsu, like one of the problems I think a lot of students face in jujitsu is the grass is always greener. You know, it's just something about jujitsu and the level of technique that, or new variants that are coming down the pipe that like at least made me feel like I was trying to chase the dragon's tail. Like I was always missing something.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful lesson you got right there, because he was spot on, man. He was really, really, like the grass isn't greener. The grass is greener where you water it. And thankfully you were in the Garden of Eden, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
You were right there. Like,
no, yeah, that is 100% right. And you're right. It's, you know, you don't know, if you have a great teacher, and you can pretty much, I knew we had an amazing human being.
Yeah, it's just something about the way the training is and the way these interactions go, that it's easy to kind of go like, hey, wait a second, you know, and you lose that sight, and you lose the connection, and it's over, you know. Shawn, I want to kind of go back to this thought, like where Renzo was encouraging us to really innovate. And, you know, out of like there were really some fantastic people there. You said Matt Serra, Nikki Serra, Ricardo Almeida. I mean, just to name a few, right? And they were, in my estimation, they were really very, very, very good at stranding together the ideas that Renzo was giving. Like they were able to execute. But according to my memory and my experience, you were the first one of us to actually start to think about things differently and innovate. Like Danaher is, you know, the guy now, right? Though I was there, I'm not trying to diminish John in any way whatsoever.
Right.
I'm just pointing out that for me, you were the first person to do it. You know, the Williams guard, which is I was there, man. It wasn't the rubber guard. It wasn't headquarters. It was your innovation. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this conversation earlier, and he said, like, what do you think? Bravo got it from Shawn? I says, no, Shawn was at the pinnacle of this innovation, and the social consciousness after it was discovered followed suit. Like Eddie Bravo's amazing. Like this is nothing disparaging against that whole thing, but I know the timeline. I was there, and for me, it like I was amazed. I like thought to myself, wow, Shawn really gets something that none of us. Well, let me just say this: that I did not get at that time. Like I was trying to regurgitate moves, fulfill on our teachers' demands and or techniques and ideas, and that at that moment there was a shift into something else, and you were the guy. And I want to know, like what was going on for you? Like, how did you transcend just, okay, these are the moves, you put together the moves. How did you start thinking about it differently?
Interesting. I think, but thank you for the kind words. But
it was my experience, bro. I was, you know, I watched it.
I feel like, so what happened with that whole thing, it was just, what they say is, necessity is the mother of an invention, right? So I had to, because I couldn't do things to these guys. I've trained with Matt, Sarah, and Rodrigo, and they were just kicking the shit out of me every day, you know? Right. And so you've got this room of unbelievable people. I think that helped me try to figure out things. My brain has always sort of worked like that. I'm a tinkerer. I try to figure things out. I think my son has it. When we moved back to New York for a very short stint in 2019, we lived in the bottom of a brownstone, and it's like, over 100 years old. And the owner of the brownstone, he's 2.5, right? So he's got this door, those I can't remember what they're called, the ones that slide back and forth. He's sitting there tinkering with the lock, right? He's just like sitting there doing this with it and tinkering, and we're all just talking, and all of a sudden, the lock opens. Whoa. Right? And the owner of the brownstone looked at him and looked at me and was like, "That's never worked before." Oh, I've never had that word before. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I've never had that word before. I was like, well, that's his mind is like that. So
Right.
I that's kind of how my mind has always been. Like, I've always sort of tried to reverse engineer things, seeing what, and I felt like at that time I had seen, I had must have had enough knowledge to reverse engineer things in a way that all of a sudden, hey, wow,
It's
this
a new
worked.
thing, right?
This stuck. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is working and stuck. And so, and I watched a buttload of footage outside of just training. So ideas that other people would have. Now going underneath my own leg, I'd never seen that. I'd never seen that before. Nino was the actual one that had been pulling his shin up, and so I'd always tried to do that off of Nino. But then we were training for Rodrigo's fight, and I think it was Joe Monahan, to be honest. Like he just kept he had a tank top on. Everybody was getting Rodrigo ready, and he just kept yanking out of me pulling my leg over his head, just slipping out, and then I just put a hand under my leg, and he stopped slipping out. And I was like, hey, cool, this
works.
This works. And then here come a triangle, and then it kept going, and then that's when I think once you have something that works a little, you can start really opening up the floodgates and working. So my mind has always just been, I've always been like a tinkerer, try things, see what works.
When you say reverse engineer, and let me just give you why I'm asking, because I think it's a real gift. Like it was a gift you gave me. Like I was like, oh, wow, my classmate is figuring new stuff out. Maybe I could try that. And so I think it's an interesting point for the jiu-jitsu practitioner to think about things like that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Like I said, I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but like I said, like I was kind of I was in the framework, and I couldn't see, I was the last guy to know that the fish was swimming in water. Like, so I just think it's an interesting point. So when you say reverse engineer, just real quickly, like I think I get it, but like as it relates to jiu-jitsu, what could a practitioner glean from that?
So you look at the problem, right? You look at the end of the problem, and so there's an end, and then there's some sort of successful end that you want to accomplish. You need to figure out how do you get from success to the beginning, working with ideas that you might have seen before, but maybe in different situations. And I feel like that's sort of, you mess around long enough with the right people in the right room, and all of a sudden things start to happen, and you move your body. Obviously through jiu-jitsu, you're starting to learn how to move your body much differently than you ever had before.
My gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So you do that, you look at the success, sort of, that's kind of how I figure things out. Like I look at what I want to have happen, and then I look at how can I make that happen. And sometimes it's accident, sometimes it's not, and then I play a lot, and then boom, something might come up. Just like all the leg pummeling, right? The leg pummeling, I saw Nino do it. I saw Nino do it from half guard once.
Was that 1999?
2000? 97, 98.
97. Okay.
98 is when he came to the gym. I saw a video of him doing it around 99, 98, 99. And I was like, oh, wow, that was wild how he just flipped his foot over this guy's leg.
Right.
And then when I saw that, when you buy a red car, all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of red cars.
Reticulating activator.
I'm watching Renzo train, and I start seeing him. You know how he used to float on his head, right? He's jump up, float on his head, and then his legs would start going.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's the same thing. He's doing the same thing from a different position. And so then that's when all that stuff started happening. I started playing with like, okay, how can I flip my legs around like that from everywhere and figure out like, where am I having these problems that I can't get by people's legs? How can I flip them around? And then mixed with ways to pin people's legs, like a leg weave or my chest pressure. And then all of a sudden, all the leg stuff came, like all my leg pummeling came. Like
I remember you showing me that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. And I mean, just, John went on his footlock tangent, right? Well, I went on I'm not going to be footlock tangent.
Right.
And then that's when all of the leg pummeling stuff, training with him every day, just so you start getting inside position and leg position. And all of a sudden, like, oh, wow, this is like a whole nother thing right here. That's
amazing.
That's just I saw these guys do it, and then it just branched out. I had problems. I needed to solve them. I started to think about how I wanted to get there. And usually working backwards seems to help my brain to figure things out.
Beautiful, beautiful. I get, when we were talking about the podcast, I said, I want to ask you this question. And maybe you already answered it and maybe you didn't. But I think it's just so interesting that all of us have a kind of a shared experience with Renzo and that time, but then we also have an individual experience with him. Like all of us have different stories, right? And different perceptions. And I just think that, when I think about that, I think a fascinating question for at least the core group is like, what do you think's the most important thing that you got from being around Renzo Gracie, or that he taught you specifically, however you want to answer that question?
Yeah. And it's a hard question there's so much, right?
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
No. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's not a hard question to answer. It's hard to pick one thing. It's hard to pick something, right? Because there's so many things. I felt like he was a leader. He got on the mat and he did what he said. And when we got to see some of those epic brawls with Hyan and anyone else that was there, that was we're watching him, like, that's what you're supposed to do. That's when the things are turned up, that's what you're supposed to do. That's how you do it. And so that was really cool. But yet he there was not one thing that he literally couldn't answer. And if he couldn't answer it, he'd come back. I don't know if he was ever stumped. Not in my book. And he shared everything. So the thing I feel like I'm always still working to achieve is how open-minded he was to give information and never hold back anything. I mean, if somebody asked a question, he
was the most generous person I met at that point. Absolutely, 100%.
That's right. And at that level, he was just extremely open-minded. He was an innovator, and essentially on the forefront of all of jiu-jitsu in the entire planet. In my opinion, he was on the forefront. He was the guy creating the path for us to follow. He was a trailblazer. He was like the trailblazer, in my opinion, of all jiu-jitsu.
Certainly.
And we got to see it. And I think that's, you then can go, oh, that's what it's like to trailblaze. Right. I'm going to do that. I'm going to follow that lead and go that direction and be as creative, as an innovative, as open to answering questions, as open to take information in. I mean, there was a class. Do you remember? I think his name was, it might have been Sasha or Yoshi. Anyway,
Yasha?
He was a white belt. White belt.
Yeah.
We were doing a crucifix. We were doing a crucifix, some sort of strangle. I don't remember exactly what the strangle was, but the guy comes, somebody's like, Renzo's, hey, that you're a little off there. And he's like, yeah, but I'm getting strangled. And Renzo was like, what are you doing? And he showed him, he's like, that's not what I showed you, but let me in there. And it was it turned into an actual strangle. Yeah. And he was like, man, that works. Hey guys, come on over. We're going to look at this right then and there. First, he felt it, was like, this is legit. And he taught everybody a move that was created by a mistake right then and there. Yeah. And so that was, I think that was in the blue basement. I was already black belt when it happened, but it just showed me, like, that's
the way you do it.
That's the way to be. That's the way to do it.
I remember being a blue belt and being at Peggy's and have, like, I don't know if you recall, but my triangle was the thing that I was like working towards. Like, it was it was the thing that at that level that I wanted to master. And I was having a lot of success, and people were coming to Renzo and going like, how do I get out of Gene's triangle? And he was like, Gene, come over here. Put me in your triangle. and he figured, like, he escaped, and then he taught everybody how to escape that triangle. And then I had to give it up.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So I feel like that was a massive gift that I don't know even if he was trying to just, but it was
him.
It was a role model in those regards.
I feel as though that academy, and maybe it's on some level to this day still, it's the epicenter of jiu-jitsu in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, John kind of took that lead and did, but I still think it's part of the same thing. It's in my mind, at least, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I think about it.
Thank you for listening to the Gentle Art Podcast. Please share, rate, and review. And if you have any questions or you'd like to reach out, please contact us at the GentleArtPodcast@gmail.com, or contact us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or thegentleartpodcast.com.